What about it, YouTube? Okay, let's talk about sovereign citizens and sovereign silly shits, okay? Sometimes when I get bored, I like to watch these idiots lose all of their common sense, and then somehow or other it becomes a honeypot for every other moronic idiot out there on the inner tubes to run into their comments and talk about, devil government and Nazi police. And here's the example I'm going to use today. Here's some morons that ganged up. I can't tell if they're at a Walmart or what. It looks like they're some kind of eating establishment. But anyway, in the comments it gets confusing about people arguing about where they were when they get confronted here. Maybe it is a department store that has some kind of eatery going on. Something like that. Anyway. Here it says Walmart in the description, but it doesn't matter where they are. They're in public. And so, right off the bat, I haven't even played the video. I won't play the video. I'll link to it. And we're just going to talk about what happens. So, these guys gang up, and they go out in public, and they got their cameras, and they got everything, and they're waiting for a confrontation with the police. They're setting up a situation to get the police called on them so that then they can make a video, so that then they can whine and bitch about how they live in Nazi Germany and they have to show their papers. Okay, that's what's going on here. Okay, so they gang up, these dumb bitches and some guy beta orbiters that hang out with them. And I think it's the guys with the camera, and I think they put the guns on the chicks. Okay. And so then they go in and they're looking odd and out of place, obviously. And so somebody decides that we better, call the authorities because we don't know if these idiots are, setting up to do something really stupid, They just don't look right. So they do the normal thing. They call the cops. And then the cop comes and, you'll have to watch it, but it's just predictable just how everything is. And it starts off, the cop's trying to ask questions because he's now involved in an investigation. He's been called to check something out that looks odd and suspicious. And so then he gets there and sure enough, it looks suspicious. And then as he's trying to figure out what's going on, he's becoming more and more frustrated because they don't want to give him information, which to a cop, that's a no person. That's someone who, you're not cooperating. You're making his investigation more difficult. And that's more suspicious as well. Why are you making it hard for me to do this? Why are you videotaping me? Why won't you explain yourself with some kind of sense? Okay? So it starts off with them, are we being detained? Has there been a crime, sir? Are we being detained, sir? And the cop's like, look, I don't know if there's been a crime yet. You're the dummies. Well, he doesn't say this way. But the fact is, they're the dummies that got someone to call in the first place by looking suspicious and out of place. And so there's the cop trying to figure out, why do you look out of place? Why are you doing this? What is the purpose of this? And at some point in this video, the chick's like, and they're all giggle dummies, like, just came to get something to eat. Okay. And then they go on with some kind of, we just want to make sure there's no crime or something like, that can be seen as two different things, It's like, that could be seen as, okay, as long as we've got citizens, wandering around with guns, the chances of crime will decrease. Well, maybe that's an opportunity for a thug to come and grab your gun and then do something to you. So it's kind of a mixed bag there as how that's going to be interpreted by anyone. And then as far as a cop attorney, it's going to be like, well, wait a second, we really don't need you, Missy, getting all excited and drawn up on somebody. We just don't need that because that's why we're here. And then, and that argument's going to be endless of, well, the point is she could have been concealed, right? If she truly wanted to not look out of place and have the option of intervening in a possible crime, then the common sense way to do it is to be concealed. It opens up a big bag of what the fuck's going on when you start marching around in public carrying a firearm. And so yeah, people are going to say, well, that's the law. That's the law. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Okay? And let's talk about that's the law. That's the law. Actually, no. Great article here. I'll have to leave links to all this stuff. So when does open carrying a gun at a protest become a criminal? It's not just at a protest, it's any damn where. Okay? So it talks about how North Carolina was one of the first to carry on an old law, a very old law. It goes back to the 1300s, I think. And it's just common sense shit. I mean, if you read this article, it's, nobody wants to go out in public and have the oddball show up, packing in public. And let me talk about that for a second. Okay, look, I've got long hair. I know what I look like, generally speaking, when I'm out in public to others. I don't have the confidence that I could go out in public with a sidearm and not get a call on me. And I just don't need it. I don't need to have to explain why the fuck I was doing something like that, or I don't need to waste his time. I don't need to waste my time. Okay? So based upon my own assessment of my own presence in the world, I'm using my common sense to say that's not a good idea unless I have a real good friggin' reason. Now, if I had a flat top and, had that look, because you got to be that guy to act that way. If you carry yourself in public in a manner that's going to mimic a detective or an undercover or a private eye or something along those lines, if you've got the look, then chances are you could go out packing and no one would ever even blink an eye because you've got the look, right? But imagine that, you're from the hood and your pants are hanging off and you got tattoos and your eyelids are hardly open and you're carrying a sidearm. You don't think that that's going to get a phone call? I mean, at least those guys are smart enough to put it in their waistband and cover it up. That's what I'm saying. It's these dumb crackers that look out of place, that have odd behavior in public, suspicious behavior, that gets the cop called, that gets the investigation started, and then wants to talk about my rights, my Constitution. You should read the Second Amendment. I can do this. So the lesson here is common sense, okay? Common sense because, yeah, they even have laws that you can't terrorize the public and show up looking intimidating and threatening and out of place with deadly weapons, okay? Because it makes people nervous. They don't want to take their kids outside anymore. And it just isn't. It just doesn't mix. You dumbasses. It just doesn't mix. So here's the article, and if you want to really take it to the end of how dumb a sovereign silly shit can be, check these guys out. I don't think my internet connection likes me. I'm out in the country, so I have yesterday's internet connection, but and I don't think it likes me having a couple windows open. Plus, I got Fusion 360 trying to run in the background, so I'm really overloading the magic inside the computer. But anyway, back to the story. These two idiots, they didn't like the fact that they got pulled over, so they went home and the guy's got a balaclava on, right? Or whatever they call those things, a hoodie. A full on where all you can see is his eyes. And him and his dumbass friend get the camera ready, and they're packing like, I can't remember if it was an AR or what they got, but just dumb as hell. It's carrying rifles and covering their heads up, and walk right into a fucking police station. And when they're walking to the police station, they're like, yeah, we don't like how we were pulled over, so we're just going to march in here. We're going to, get these cops figured out straight, you know. Holy shit, they walk in there. It's amazing they did not get killed. It is totally amazing. Props to the cops for, I mean, they got, their heads are completely covered and they're carrying rifles. I mean, if they were not begging to be completely shot the fuck up. Damn. I mean, it's just comedy in a way. But don't let your common sense go to the wayside in any, thinking or thoughts you're having, any kind of political persuasions that are bouncing around in your coconut. Don't ever lose your common sense, because everybody else is just out there. See, the thing is, people want, the security and tranquility. That's what government's supposed to be for, is to provide for the, and people want a polite society, right? That's like, in the back of everybody's minds, that's what the goal is, right? Behind all the ideologies and debates about this way, that way, who should run it, what's good, what's corrupt. Okay, behind all that is that, generally speaking, anyone who's not a criminal, they want a polite society, and they, and in fact, the criminal does too, because they have to have you and other people counting on that to